showed me how to get the black off.
Okay.
There we go.
It's science.
There we go. Yeah, he was right. So you can just burn the black off, which is much nicer than cleaning a bong. Yeah, look at that. And now it's like super, super clean. Yay, I love clean pieces. Yeah, look at that. The black is just like disappearing. Okay, it's starting to get... Oh, I just dropped the...
Wait.
Okay, so...
Here.
Yeah, I'll give you the torch. Okay, it's got to be red hot.
Even, but just kind of keep moving it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so there's dab all over my desk, but that's okay. That is okay. It's my job to smoke weed, so... Okay, I got a big juicy one here. I'm going to hold on to it until he's ready for me.
I mean, it will visually be red.
Thank you, Sharon, for sharing to the groups.
Yes, thank you,
Kayla. Love you, honey.
Oh, there it is. It's getting red.
So it's getting red hot. There we go.
I was just thinking to myself, it's actually going to get red hot? I didn't tally with you guys when we were checking this out, so.
And then we're going to wait, I think, 1 minute. Right? Jason does dabs, am I right?
Because Rob...
Dab fail. I know, right, Pete? Already, we didn't even get it hot yet.
And it's like, gets hot and then it disappears right away. So how hot are we talking?
So then what Jay did was pointed it underneath and just kept it there in the hottest. There we go.
Okay.
We're just going to get this hotter than heck here. Wow, this is going to be funny
hot.
either way, pass or fail, right? I know.
Okay, now it's red hot. It's red hot all the way to the top.
Okay, so I'm gonna count on you guys to tell me when I need to drop my dab.
Okay.
Dab.
Are we ready to kill it down then?
Okay, good. Yeah, hot to the top. Okay, let's. Okay. Now we need 1 minute, so I'm gonna watch here. Oh, Russell. Yeah, Russell Langhammer does. Okay, 1 minute. So we're gonna wait, and I know how to feel like this.
I wouldn't touch it.
I'm not gonna touch it.
It's odd, the whole minute thing, because other people say 45 seconds, right?
It just depends. Apparently, the hotter you take it, the harsher it is. And it literally feels like it heats up for a minute after. You feel that?
Oh, it's still steaming. Okay.
So, can you guys hear us okay? We've got a microphone hooked up today. Is it better than normal? Looks like we've got 23 live in the house. Yay, guys! Keep sharing. Let me see a bunch of love in that screen for the 25 now people in this room watching this live right now. Okay, I think it's ready, guys. I think it's ready. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Get into that hot thing. The gift that keeps on giving. Fantastic.
Yeah! I just used the lid of my slick for a carb. Pretty sweet.
And what is that you were smoking?
You have a big juicy one you're holding on to, Roger says. His mind went to the wrong place. Man, you can hit that, Bridget. Thank you. Oh, our sister Michelle's in the house. Thank you. This is only like this. This is the first time I've done it by myself. Usually my sons are helping me or my daughter. So, nice and smooth. Okay. Yeah. Our phone was just ringing. Okay, Ann Johnston. Hey, honey. Greg Smith is in the house. Ariel's in the house. Happy birthday, honey. I hope you had a great day. You're 21 today, right? My mother-in-law always told me, once you hit 21, you start going backwards. Oh, good. Audio is much better. With this little tiny microphone. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Oh, I do not own the rights to this music. Okay, guys. Well, 23. Ariel's 23. Happy birthday, honey. 23 is a really good age. 29 viewers, guys. Great job. Let's keep it up. Let's keep sharing this. Tag 5 people in this. We want everybody to access this information. We want everybody to hear these stories of how cannabis can help heal. It can cure cancer. It can help you live a better quality life. I've been watching a lot of mom stuff lately, mom and cannabis, and I watched these 2 women on this talk show literally get eaten alive by the audience because they were stoner moms. So, clinical social workers stood up and was like, shame on you, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sorry, but for me, I think parents are much calmer and interact much better with their kids. They have more fun with them. They get more involved. I think if you're able to come to that homeostasis and go, you're going to be a much better parent. So,
just thinking about just like the posts on Facebook occasionally say, why is it okay for a mom to say, hey, I need a drink or a wine, it's wine time or something, but if a mom were to say, it's time to hit this joint or something, everybody's like, oh, like, whatever. That's stupid.
I mean, people are on tons of pharmaceuticals driving on the roads all the time. People are drinking and driving all the time.
I was going to say, just a quick story, and I know then we should probably jump into this wonderful story here, but in Missoula the other day, traffic accident, one of our major intersections, but the cops started investigating it. One driver was, they did the DUI check. This was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Did a DUI check, did not pass, got arrested for DUI. The other driver also failed a DUI. She had a 4-month-old in the back seat. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 different drivers, both in the same accident, both drunk.
Okay, so for me, I feel like stoners are smarter than to get so inebriated that they can't drive. Stoners are smart enough to realize that. We can realize the fact that, I can't drive right now, I shouldn't drive, and I'm not going to drive. That's what I see for the most part. When you drink, you're impulsive, you do stupid things. So...
yeah, you think you're the best drunk driver on the road.
Crazy.
Stuff.
So, sorry about that. Sorry. With my dab stick over here. Okay, guys, so we're going to share a story here from Chris Chambers. Now, our good friend Mike Robinson wrote this story. He is absolutely magnificent, and this story is, we sat down and read this story and we were in tears. We were like, we have to do this story word for word, the way Mike Robinson wrote it, because otherwise we couldn't see doing this story justice. Part of this story is how it's told from Mike, and so it's just absolutely amazing. So you can find this out. One of my girls is going to put in here the link to Chris Chambers' actual, the whole interview and everything in here. Eventually it's Mike's Medicines, so check out Mike's Medicines. So
he's a canna blogger is what it says right on his thing. So yeah. So this is his interview with the Purple, and the title is Purple Heart recipient Chris Chambers talks cannabis and veterans. Story by Mike Robinson, September 22nd, 2018. And so, wounded physically in a brutal war and fighting a system that refuses to properly help PTSD, cannabis is his medicine to set his mind at ease. So that's the kind of the the intro to it.
I want to see some love in that screen, you guys. Let's see some love in that screen.
So
every time you see cannabis, I want at least 5 hearts in that screen, guys.
So the story is exactly what Bridget said we're going to do. We're just going to read the story, and you guys can check this out yourself too. But in the roller coaster of changing times in the 1960s, at the young age of 14, Chris Chambers enlisted into the Civil Air Patrol. That's an auxiliary to the U.S. Air Force. Only a few years later, he became one of the many brave men that ended up in the midst of the Vietnam War. In the lengthy conflict that cost abundance of lives, with even more seriously injured, both physically and mentally, Chris found himself injured and shell-shocked. He was far from alone. Others came back with severe exposure to chemical agents that took years to attempt to be treated before taking their lives. Of course, most are informed of the devastating numbers that perished in the war itself, but many are unaware of how many veterans are lost annually to PTSD and other mental side effects of being in the midst of this unnerving combat. So Chris Robinson said, when I asked Chris, a very familiar face on social media, why he joined up to go to war in an era which was so controversial, his answer was swift and with passion. I responded to JFK, my fellow Americans, ask not what you can do for what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. It was that quote that gave him the courage to do for his country what so few wanted to do at that time. Little did he know what was in store for him, and knowing the tough guy that continues to battle through surgery after surgery at the VA hospital, the ongoing delays, the bureaucratic policies, and more led him to the cannabis plant in 1982, when he told me I just started growing it for all of those reasons. So here it's going to start going into some more, like the fact stuff with Congress and whatnot. So in 1983, Congress requested the VA conduct a study on the prevalence of PTSD and other post-war psychological problems among the Vietnam vets. This was the first study to evaluate the prevalence and became known as the National Vietnam Veterans Readjustment Study, NVVRS, which, in its initial examination, found that over 15% of those that returned from duty, active or not, were suffering from extreme variations of it. So then more recently, Congress requested that the VA conduct a follow-up study. Among the participants of the NVVRS, known as the National Vietnam Veterans Longitudinal Study, so NVVLS, was completed in December of 2013 and was the first study to measure the long-term health and mental health of Vietnam veterans. The findings are not only controversial but nonsensical. We confirm the majority of Vietnam vets.
Okay. It's fine. Just grab a seat. We confirm that we confirm that the majority of Vietnam theater veterans are both mentally and physically healthy, but a significant number are still suffering from PTSD, symptoms, and other chronic health issues related to their service.
No. So what is it? In the world of cannabis as medicine, there's one strong voice to be heard. Veterans. By far, they don't ring the same bell as the VA does regarding the proper treatment of PTSD by the administration, nor any fairness at all in the allowance for medical cannabis. Again, which seems like it should, or like it took a war to get all of it itself, a veteran once told me. Many that know Chris Chambers, online and off, will tell you one thing. The man is a legend. A warrior that brings smiles to many faces while he talks it up about cannabis and the rights for everyone, and generally with a pleasant smile to share. I asked him a few point blank questions. So, the first question, Chris, how does cannabis specifically help you? His answer, 2 words, combat PTSD. I also broke my neck, so it alleviates pain from that. It stabilizes my brakes due to the combat stress, and it has also helped my pain. It regenerated my C2 and C3 in my neck, and I have new bone marrow. What advice would you give? So, second question, what advice would you give to those waiting to use cannabis as medicine? The crowd that's watching is a bit skeptical. His answer, it helps to explain how it works to others and how less harmful marijuana is in your system than the alternatives. Not to mention the countless physical and mental health benefits associated with it. So, question. With severe PTSD and a broken neck, do you find yourself on quite a bit of a few prescription drugs? What type of difference did it make when you switched over to cannabis? His answer, I was on 19 different pharmaceutical medications from the VA, 4 of which were strong opiate painkillers. Due to many pharmaceuticals, the VA hospital had to remove 2 feet 7 inches of my lower intestine. Due to the medication, had to remove. Another question. What difference did it make after you found relief with the plant? You've told me that almost all the ways that you've been taking it, ingestion to vaporization, have worked wonders. How's life now as far as those prescription medications? His answer, cannabis is my only medicine. Other than that, I take a blood pressure pill. Which he then responded, wow. So, although Chris has been in a battle to get surgeries done with the VA, he continues to spread a big smile around and a good word about the cannabis plant. So there is photos that you can obviously follow with the whole story if you were to go online to Mike's Medicines and read the story. So there picture it says on social media where he's either walking to stay healthy and others he's on a bicycle. So regardless of what obstacles he faces, it seems that his good nature and the health he gained from the cannabis plant have given the fuel necessary to keep going. There's been quite a few changes in the home state that we both live in, California. I asked Chris in Proposition 64 if Proposition 64 had affected him other than possible changes in prices and the taxes. His response was, it puts a huge hold in the VA's approval that it's recreational. It's much harder to get a determination that the use is or was for medical purposes when the law allows for anyone to use it, whether it's necessary for your health or not. My job as an advocate got harder. He went on to tell me that most of the recreational seems to be lower grade than medical. But if you go with the medical route, you must turn in your weapons. That doesn't seem to sit too well with Chris, a man who had to hold onto his weapon for dear life, literally. It was the only possession that mattered in order to stay alive while in combat. I asked him point blank, how does that make you feel as a veteran that a person with likely less experience using cannabis as a recreational user can have their Second Amendment right, while a patient like you that has experienced the feelings and the effects of cannabis can't have a weapon, especially as a patient like you that had to bear arms by order of his country in an act of war.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry. I just gotta have him repeat that one more time to make sure everybody heard that part. Listen.
I asked him point blank, how does that make you feel as a veteran that a person with less experience using cannabis as a recreational user can have their Second Amendment rights, while a patient like you that is experienced in feeling the effects of cannabis can't have a weapon, especially a patient like you that used to bear arms by order of his country in an act of war. Chris responded quite simply, veterans are disgusted with VA policies. Let us grow. So, I mean, I guess that's a totally good point that you had me reread that, because, I mean, as a I said that to you earlier after we were reading this, it's like, as a veteran, a trained member of the military, someone who is very familiar with firearms, to be medical would have to turn in their guns in the state of California.
To be medical, but if you just use as recreation, then
you can keep your guns. So I mean,
how can you be willing? How can the government be willing to put these big weapons in teenagers' hands, specifically to kill people? But then, if they need a plant to treat them, they're gonna have their weapons taken from them as grown men? You're kidding me. This blows my freaking mind, you guys. Like, what in the hell? Come on. This is why we need to get this off the Schedule I drug list. This is why we tell these stories. Because cannabis is not a deadly medication. Nobody has ever died from cannabis. Cannabis can safely treat PTSD, insomnia, night terrors, anxiety, depression. This can help heal our veterans. Let's give back to our veterans. Let's say thank you for our freedom by allowing them access to a medication that's going to be less harmful than these suicide cocktail pills that are being given out. Thank you, Keith, for that. That was a very interesting, great point. The VA is giving out cocktails of pills, which are basically, it's a suicide cocktail. But they can't smoke an herb. They can't grow a plant. They can't grow a plant and use a plant for medicine and see their VA doctors. Are you kidding me? The vets are being told cannabis or the VA. If you test for THC or CBD, we will not treat you. This is absolutely obscene. It's a crime. It's a flat out a crime.
Yeah, it literally is crazy.
Right?
Yeah. So the plight of veterans is to be able to use cannabis as medicine has been a long and well-documented one. Many feel it's yet another scar upon our government's marred body. The statistics behind veteran-related suicides are alarming. In 2013, the United States Department of Veterans Affairs released a study that covered suicides from 1999 to 2010, which showed that roughly 22 veterans were dying by suicide per day, or one every 65 minutes. There's other reports that show an even higher rate. Recently, Chris was given a very hard time while attempting to obtain much-needed medical care. The VA says they care about their veterans, and yet when I went there via VA transportation, a scheduled was called off, and then leaving me stranded there. No follow-up to what was happening, no calls, no info, just left in the cold. I can't understand this. I am now very depressed, and my PTSD has gotten me wanting total isolation, ignoring those who do care, depressed and in pain. The surgeon said, I've ordered your antibodies, and yet no RX for it. I go to the pharmacy, and then I'm told it's being mailed to you. And a close friend of his spoke out publicly. He stated on his social media page, as his friend, including myself, looked on with disgust. But many of those friends are also veterans and chimed in on exactly how veterans are treated. I could quote statistics for everybody that are all over the internet. We all know that the rates of suicide for veterans due to depression, PTSD, and more is beyond alarming. And we all expect to see those that fought for our country well taken care of. I know I do. And I tried to find, because there was some of these studies and the dates on some of these, 2013 or they were 2010. I was trying to find some more updated stuff even before the show. It just seems like I don't know if it's the information is suppressed or, because a minute ago I was saying that it was 22 a day, but there's other reports that show it's higher. It's like they cover up those other reports to try to downplay the amount of suicide deaths there really are. Or they attribute it to something else. They're like, well, he was 50, so maybe he just had a hard life or something, right? They're not adding in all the factors there.
I mean, our veterans are, like you heard in the beginning of the story, we had a lot of boys come home that were sick from the shots. Still today, we've got guys that get sick from their boot camp shots. They're exposed to chemicals, which affects their offspring and their offspring's offspring and their offspring's offspring. And the VA is just leaving these people hanging with nothing. Like you heard, they're just, there's no post-care. There's no care. You're a number. You're just a we're in the army now, we're in the army now kind of mentality. And we need to stand up for our vets and stand for their quality of life. They deserve to have access to medication without being stigmatized and flat out cut off of health care because they use this plant. We love our vets, and we want the government, and we want big pharma and physicians to stop poisoning our vets. It is not okay. Please hear me. Stop poisoning our vets. It is not okay. We need to help our vets. We need to lift our vets up and show them that we appreciate our freedoms today. Because I'll tell you right now, I appreciate being able to get on live and tell you these stories and smoke in front of you and teach you about what I'm smoking. So we need to stand up and say, it's not okay. We expect our vets to be treated better and them to be given access to alternative medicine. I want to see a bunch of love in that screen if you agree with me. Stop poisoning our vets. Stop it, for crying out loud. Come on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Not one, but several of Chris's friends chimed in. The VA is creating more cases of PTSD than any other thing veterans have faced. This is crazy. We need people to wake up and realize that the media doesn't want people to know what is really happening. Please help us. We need proper representation. We need veterans in charge of veterans care. We need representatives that know the battles we face after returning home. Veterans are dying. They are let down by the VA and would rather take their own lives or die in pain than to deal with the failure they receive from the VA. Please help us. Please tell those you elect into office to help veterans. Every VA needs to be investigated. They all need to.
Look what Chelsea says. So my niece Chelsea says there's a new study in 2015 that states there had not been much change since 2013 in veteran and active duty military, one every 65 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chelsea. You're so smart. I love you, honey. Gemini says, frankly, everybody in America is getting poisoned through our foods, medication, water, air. You were totally spot on. I was just watching a thing today that was telling me that A lot of the foods that we eat are made with aborted fetuses. Everything from gum to cereal. And I love my gum, and there's nothing except for aborted fetuses going to take me away from my gum. Like, I just, like, who thinks of this stuff? Why are we poisoning our own people? It doesn't make sense to me.
Or you're using those, like you were saying, parts, fetuses, kidney, cells, and you put it into sugary drinks so that you wouldn't throw up. That's what Jay was kind of talking about too. Since you don't throw up from that amount of sugar as you're guzzling down a big tall soda, right? And normally, if you're drinking that much sugar, your body will
This
get
stuff
upset.
is in any soda that you drink, you guys.
Yeah. Okay, so.
And he drinks a lot.
Well, but you notice the last few days I've been saying, you know what? I need some water. So all the VAs need to be looked at, the understaffing, the lack of equipment, the lack of investments in their patients. Haven't we given enough? How is it that a murderer can receive better care than a veteran? Veterans are dying on your watch. How many more do we have to lose before we get the help we need? Declared Jen Spalding.
Yeah.
When you stop and think about it, why were veterans ever subject to a delay in the use of voter-approved medicinal cannabis in their states? There's not one law in the books anywhere that says the doctors must prescribe cannabis to allow it. The VA uses the excuse for years. Our doctors may not prescribe a Schedule I drug. We must follow the federal law. Blah blah blah.
So even if there is a VA doctor out there that will tell their patients about this, that will approve this,
or could.
Legally, they cannot.
They can't.
Legally, they cannot. The government will not allow it because it's against the federal law. It's a Schedule I drug. So they're not even allowed to discuss it with their patients, which is another problem. We need to change this whole Schedule I drug thing so that our physicians can help heal us and can suggest safer alternatives to this, and are expected to learn about the endocannabinoid system and how it works with just like every other system in the body.
But they are taught about the endocannabinoid system. That's part of their schooling.
They're not, though.
It is, maybe they're not taught to the fullest extent that they could be.
Well, the research that I've done shows that they don't even, in the majority of medical schools, they do not even teach upcoming physicians about the endocannabinoid system, which blows my mind because it literally, like, we would die without it, so.
Yeah, your body has it.